Hello, I'm Jordan. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. My name's Isaiah. So I'm just the recruiting manager here at Weyerhaeuser, and you are here on time for your appointment. So let's get ready for this interview. Just if you'd like to set up over here, and I'm just gonna curl it out this way.
Okay, sounds good.
So Jordan, starting off first, it says here you were born in 1996 and over in Washington. What part of Washington specifically?
So I was born in Seattle, Washington, but at a young age I moved to Kent, and I've pretty much been there my whole life. So everything I've done, I went like starting elementary school all the way up until high school. I went to all the Kent schools, and then after that I just moved on. I started out in community college at Highline, and I worked on my some accounting, mainly business stuff over at Highline, and then transferred over to University of Washington, where I'm working on my bachelor's degree in accounting right now and plan on graduating after the spring quarter of 2019.
Oh, okay, nice. So just kind of curious, a lot of undergrads don't necessarily apply for this job. I was just kind of curious how you came across it and what really stuck out for you to think, Weyerhaeuser.
Yeah, so Weyerhaeuser is like one of the biggest companies in the world, in regards to timberlands and wood product, and I thought that having an accounting job at Weyerhaeuser would be a really good experience for me. I've had a little bit of accounting experience before, but it's at a small company. It's where I work at now, and I'm only in one side, in accounts payable and receivable, and so I'd like to branch out and to just be able to take in all of the experiences and information as I can to better myself for the future, whether it still be at the Weyerhaeuser job or in any other future job.
So going off what you've informed yourself about us, I was just kind of curious, where do you think you'll fit into our company's culture?
So culture, I'm a really big thing I like to do is I like to make a difference in the company. So what I like to do is learn as much as I can and be able to make an impact, being able to complete everything my manager, whoever needs me to complete on time. I'll take the time to learn and work efficiently as best as I can to be able to do journal entries, do everything. So I'm not I just don't like to be seen as a weak link, so I like to strive towards that. So that's how I think I'd fit in.
And then, so when has there been time you've had to overcome any obstacles to achieve any of your goals? Because you said that you like to not be seen as a weak link.
Mm-hmm.
So I was curious about that.
Mm-hmm. So, there's a lot of different times. Right after high school was kind of a hard time for me because I didn't really know what I was doing because I just went through high school, and now I wanted to go to college. I wanted to because no one else in my family has a degree, and I wanted to be successful in life, but it just put me at a point where I need to make decisions, and that's something that I've been working on, and it was just really hard because just the pressure of going to school and handling all of that. But I just took a little bit of extra time, and I worked I found goals that I wanted to make. Once I figured out accounting was the right way for me to go, then there's just all kinds of different goals that I could do in accounting, in the future, maybe becoming accounting managers or getting my CPA license and working in public accounting, and all of that stuff is just things I could work towards, and that's where I'm trying to go for now.
So upon receiving this job, say hypothetically you got hired today, so what would your ambitions consist of?
My ambitions, I kind of mentioned this before earlier, is just to become someone everyone will respect. I like to think that I'm pretty friendly, so I don't want, so working in a group, in the accounting team, I'd like to be known as someone that they could talk to, and also someone that they could rely on. So if anyone needs help with anything, like if I learn how to do like the different processes at the job, that I can be someone that people will fall back on for help, or just extra work if I'm available, that I can just help them out and just be a factor of the company's success.
So then, when have you made a crucial mistake, in your past employments, or maybe just in life in general? And then, how did you go about correcting it?
Okay, so one of my past jobs, I worked in quality assurance for a sausage production plant. And so what I did was I made sure, I walked around like the plant, we made like sausages, and I made sure that everything was right with the sausage, that we didn't send out product that could potentially harm anyone, or just could cause problems. And there was a time when we packaged product that actually had metal in it and wasn't caught, and it went out. It was about to go out to the stores before the problem was found out. And so what we had to do was we had to recall, I forget the exact poundage of the product, but it was a lot of like meat back to us, and we ended up throwing it all away. And so although it wasn't entirely my blame, because at the time I wasn't actually on the floor, I was working on something else at that time, but I was on the plant, but just not, my eyes weren't on like what was going out at that time. And so, like I said, it wasn't entirely my blame, but I felt really bad about the situation. And after a few manager talks, they brought me in and just talked about what happened. And then it just like gave me like a really bad feeling that I just don't want to experience again. And so that's why I make it an importance to just prevent any mistake, like work to the best of my ability and make sure I'm doing everything right. So like, and being efficient, but that doesn't mean rushing anything or like not doing my job properly. I just want to like be the difference in this company.
I understand. So then, following off that, speaking about mistakes and such, has there been a time you've had to use a teamwork or any sort of group activity to complete a task or meet a deadline?
Yes, actually. So this happened recently at my current position in accounts receivable and accounts payable. So at the end of a fiscal period, we have to like get in a lot of different documents to be able to close for the period, and like produce financial statements and everything. And so a lot of the stuff that goes into that was handled by my manager. It's like the accounting manager or assistant controller over there. And the thing was, she decided to go on vacation 1 or 2 weeks before the end of the fiscal period, and she let us know in advance that this was going to happen. But what happened to that, because we are a small company, there's only 4 of us in the accounting team, and one of them's the controller, and he honestly doesn't work on a lot of that, like the actual accounting, like journal entries and things like that. So there was a lot of new like stuff that fell onto the other other two, me and another, like the staff accountant. So a lot of new work that was completely new, and we just had to make sure it was done correctly too, because we don't want to misstate anything. And it was all onto us, and we didn't have any help with our accounting manager because she was over in Thailand, and it was hard to reach her because of like time differences and everything. And so what we did was we made sure to take notes, like extensive notes, like the week before she left, because she was telling us all the stuff we had to do. Made sure we had our pen and paper, we wrote down everything we had to do, like to the T, so we don't mess up. And then when that date went around, the first week, when she was in Thailand, we thought it was going to be like really bad, but as the week went on, it turned out to run pretty smoothly, and we got through the closing of the periods without any problem.
Nice. So then, speaking about difficult, I would not trying to dress out. It sounds like a difficult coworker taking vacation for a very important time. So have you ever had a difficult coworker? If so, how did you go about handling situations with them?
difficult coworkers. So it, as a QA, it's not my responsibility to watch over all of the like production workers, but there's a lot of them, a lot of like temporary workers. They come in, and they all have different personalities, and they can do some things that could mess up sausage really easily, and it was my job to like tell them about it. But the thing that happened at that time, because I was pretty young, I was probably younger than every one of the production employees, so a lot of times it was difficult because they didn't take me seriously, and that was the thing, or they didn't respect me. But it wasn't really on the respect that I cared about, but it was just that it's my job, and I need to tell you that after you drop something off the floor, then you need to wash your hands because you're going to be in contact with the sausages. And then if that goes out to the product and it gets sick, and someone gets sick, then that falls back onto me. And so it's just, if they're being difficult and what they're doing is causing like problems, then that would be the time that I would speak up about it. But if they're being difficult because it's like their way of thinking and it might be correct, then maybe I'll give them a chance to go through with it. We can talk it through and we can go through with it. But so that's just how I think about it.
I see that approach. So then, going off of work experience and coworkers, so let's talk about you a little bit. What are your passions, Jordan?
My passions? So
Any and all. I just want to clarify. Any and all.
any passions? So throughout my whole life, I've had a big passion for both. Well, for both basketball and video games. But I want to talk about basketball because it's something I grew up with, watching, playing, and everything. So the thing about basketball was like growing up, so like size-wise, I'm not the biggest person. So this actually proved to be a big challenge for me when playing like organized basketball because it's just something you can get pushed around on the court and it can be a liability, like on defense and things like that. So it's just I worked on everything I could just to become better, like just practicing whatever I can defense-wise, moving my feet and everything, just so I could just be more effective. So I like to use that approach like for work as well because, like I said earlier, I just don't want to be seen as like a bad thing for the company. And so that's just like the extra motivation I have, and it's like in the back of my head that I can do this. I can just work on what I can do to be better. So if I'm doing journal entries at work, I'll like try to figure out the best method I can to work faster with while staying like accurate and efficient.
I like that basketball though. Who's your favorite team?
My favorite team, right now, is probably the Golden State Warriors.
Okay. All right. You're a personal Laker fan, but I understand. They're having a good run. Curry's a nice player. Man. So with that, speaking about Curry, he brings to the Warriors a unique skill set. So what would you bring to our company?
So, a unique skill set for me, it's just like, I know I'm like a hard worker, but like that can be said for the next employee. But for me, it's just I like to not only like finish my work, but I like to find like new ways to improve like what I'm doing. Not necessarily like what other people are doing are wrong, but if there's like opportunity for me to figure out like, oh, this can be more efficient if I do it this way, or I can like talk to my manager and like talk to them about how it might be more effective if we do this instead of this. And that's like the thing I like to do, and it really makes me like happy in a sense too, that like if what I like theorize actually works out, and yeah, it's like a really good sense of accomplishment for me.
I understand. So, where do you see your career in accounting going? Like, where do you want to go? Where do you want to end up?
In accounting, so right now accounting has been, so like the accounting jobs, I found it was like the perfect place for me, really, just because of my personality type, that like I could be, just accounting is like the right place. So in the next few years, I just look to like take in all the experiences from working maybe at this job or any other job, and just learning more about what goes into it and all the processes, and then using this information to just explore further options in my career, whether it's looking up towards like a manager position, or if I feel like going down the line of CPA, then I could start studying that and going into that field. But I was thinking accounting wise, like working for a company, like whether small like I am right now or big like Weyerhaeuser, it's like the right place for me. So because I just think like just making the difference for the company, that's like my greatest like sense of pride as a worker. So that's why I think, or that's where I think I'd be, just moving towards like future goals.
Speaking about pride and such, what do you view as weaknesses, or your weaknesses in a sense?
Weaknesses, so throughout all my life, it was probably been communication like problems, because I've always known I'm pretty introverted and sometimes awkward when speaking to people, like in general. But like in the past 2-3 years at the different positions I've held, like jobs I've held, it's really taught me a lot about communication. So like as a quality assurance, for example, you have to be able to speak up, or else things can go wrong really bad. And if I was the person I was, say 5 years ago, where I tried to avoid like the confrontations and things like that, then I'd just be I would have been completely terrible at the job, and the company could have had major problems just because of things like bad things that happened just because I didn't want to talk to someone. And then I've also been an administrative assistant for a little while as well, and like some of the parts of that job was working closely with like the different managers and just doing some tasks for them. And also like answering the phone, like it's actually taught me a lot, because that was one of my primary duties, was to answer just be the first person to answer the phone. And just talking to people just made me more comfortable, like in a sense. Like I'll still be like introverted just because that's my personality type, but I'm in a much better place right now than I would have been, say, 5 years ago.
Nice, I'm glad to hear that. And then what would you say are your strengths?
My strengths would...
Besides that jump shot.
My strengths would probably be just being very, like, efficient, and just being able to... Actually, I think one of my big strengths is, like, comprehension. Just being able to learn. So, like, teaching me, like, new methods. So, like, in the accounting job, like, using the new software, if I haven't used it already, would be an example. I think I could, like, really catch on really fast. It's just due to, like, repetition. It's something that I'm really used to, and it's what I've been, like, practicing all my life. In basketball and video games, whatever I've done, just repetition, it just allows me to be really efficient, and I can catch on fast.
Nice. And last question for you, Jordan. When speaking about work, what sport crosses your mind? When I say work, what sport do you think of? Just any sport.
Sport?
Just name one sport. It could be anything from cricket to badminton to soccer. It doesn't matter.
Well, being the basketball player I am, I would say basketball. And I say this also not just because it's my favorite sport or anything, but because like basketball is a team game, and so at work, it's a team, like you're in an accounting team. And so that's why I wouldn't say anything like golf or any singular sport, because while I can be the best accountant ever, if I don't work well in teams, then that could be a really big problem. Like, yeah, if I was the best basketball player in the world, but a bad teammate, we wouldn't necessarily win the championships. And so that's just how I feel about work, just being able to contribute to the team and making a difference is what I'd like to do.
Nice. Well, this has actually been very eye-opening, Jordan. We will definitely be in touch with you. I
Okay.
wish you the best in your endeavors, man, out here, and thank you for coming in today.
All right, thanks for your time.
No worries.